Dr. Robert George Ferguson was a visionary and innovator in medicine, public health, and healthcare insurance. His compassion, courage, determination, and wisdom were forged from personal experience. Something you may notice shining through his story of the Wood Fairies is a little glimmer of his own personality and beliefs. The story reveals his unusual combination of humility and tenacity. That in order to achieve success, be prepared to do whatever you can that needs to be done, however modest it may seem. If we work as a team and give someone else the credit, success will be achieved, and that will be the ultimate and most meaningful reward. No matter how bleak and hopeless things may seem, if you keep your faith, anything is possible to overcome. The Wood Fairies' Christmas Deed by Robert George Ferguson. A little wood fairy, while flittering through the forest, overheard children's voices coming from a little log cabin set in a clearing.
"Where will we hang up our Christmas stockings tonight? Santa did not find them last year," said Jimmy. "Let's not hang them up this year. It made Mother and Father feel so badly last year when we found them empty," replied Priscilla.
"What?" The fairy's little eyes filled and its little chest heaved with sorrow. Santa must be notified, for he had asked all the fairies to tell him about unhappy children. It thought hard.
"Oh, I will send a message to Santa. It's almost dark and it is cloudy. I might lose my way. If only Firefly would come along, but now he is fast asleep in his winter cradle. The night is not too cold and I could dress him up. I will try to awaken him."
Off to the big hollow tree it flitted. Firefly was rubbed vigorously until there was enough heat in his little limbs to start the blood flow when he awoke. He was more than anxious to go.
"I shall have to write a note to Santa and make a list for him."
The fairy departed and returned with a tiny piece of thin paper bark and the tip of a thorn. In a few moments, it had folded the bark and tucked it under Firefly's blanket, and then the fairy was off and away. On and on it flew, until at length, exhausted, it dropped down into a tree and handed Firefly with a precious note to another fairy. By relay after relay, the Wood Fairies darted with Firefly. Like a series of electric sparks, they flew straight toward the North Star and Santa. Such speed did they make in their flight that in a few minutes the last fairy darted into the open window of Santa's workshop. The little wood fairy drew the tiny piece of paper bark from beneath Firefly's blanket and read,
"Ahem. 2 children of a trapper, very poor, living in the spruce grove beside the big crooked lake,"
giving exact location as fairies can,
"overlooked last year."
"Oh, just a minute," said Santa. "Now, read on."
"Bring 1 doll fully dressed, doll's trunk and bed, also 1 boy's sleigh with dog harness and bells, and 1 small puppy."
I have the gifts, but the trapper's lodge is far out of my way. Oh, how can I do it?"
"Might I suggest, Santa? Perhaps you could make this side trip before the other children are asleep. You could go at moonrise."
"Are you sure they will be asleep?"
"Oh, we can make sure. I will ask my friend the Sandman to help."
Hooty the Owl was greatly puzzled to know what was happening, for he had never seen Firefly out in the winter before. He decided not to hunt, but to stand watch until Firefly returned and to find out what was the matter.
Ho, ho, ho!
At last he saw a tiny light approaching, and he swooped down and entered the hollow tree, where Firefly told him all that had happened. Hooting at the top of his voice, he called all the animals together. When they had heard the news, they were so proud of what the Wood Fairies had done and so glad about the happy Christmas the children would have that they decided to put on a Christmas pageant and accompany the children when they went for their first sleigh ride through the woods. Everything was arranged. Hooty, who told me this story, could not see the pageant himself as the sun became too bright and he had to close his eyes tight. But from what the animals told him, it was a wonderful Christmas, and the children and the animals were all very happy.